What up, Facebook? Welcome, Replay Nation. Guys, if you guys are catching this on the replay, let me know where you're tuning in from. Let me know what time it is, because I want to chat with you guys about what you need to ask people before they're ever going to be willing to actually pay you money. And if you guys are building a digital agency, if you guys are building a marketing or client-based service business, this is going to be so important and so valuable for you to know. So we're going to cover the 4 questions that you need to ask before you even start pitching them. So Rachel, what's going on? Thanks for hopping on. There's 4 questions that you need to ask people, and we're going to cover all 4 of them in a lot of detail. But here are the 4 questions, okay? The first one is, are they even spending money on advertising? This is so important for people before they even start pitching. The second thing is, who is the decision maker, right? Who's actually going to be pulling the trigger? The third one is, when are they going to actually be ready to go? And then the fourth one is, are they able to afford your services? And if you ask all of these questions before you start pitching, you're going to have a lot higher success of your sales calls. You're going to have a lot more success when you're actually out there selling, because you're talking to the right people. So Rachel, thank you so much. Alexander, what's going on? Guys, we're going to be doing a lot more of the live videos from the Millennial Skills page. So once again, just make sure you turn on the notifications, and then I would ask for all of the likes, the loves, the shares, because people don't necessarily know about it as much, but we're doing it here on the Millennial Skills page so that we can reach more people and we can impact a broader audience. But we're going to be kind of building from scratch, very similar to those of you guys who saw me at the very beginning of my Facebook Live journey. There was not a lot of people on, and eventually we had almost 30 people on. And so our goal with this is to impact, really what we really want to do is we want to help 1,000 digital marketers build a life and a business that they love. That's really what we're on a mission to do. Is right now we want to help 1,000 digital marketers build a business of their dreams and a life that they love, through not having to, through all the stuff that we're talking about. So let me get this shared out, guys, in a couple of places, and then if you guys have any questions that you want to get into specifically about sales, or even before we get to the sales part, right? If you want to really increase your opportunity, it's really about what you do before you get to the sales call. Throw those questions down there. I'm going to get this shared out in all of the right places. And if you're not in the Chatbot 101 group, make sure that you guys come and hang out in the Chatbot 101 group. We're going to be focusing on how to build specifically a chatbot agency, but these tools and these questions that I'm going to be talking about can be applied to really anything that that you do, any service that you do. Karen, what's going on? Karen's in our accelerator program, and she's someone who has spent a lot of time learning some of these things that I've talked about. So Karen, I might not be giving you anything new. It might be something you already have heard from me. But here are the 4 questions. Let's cover them again, right? The first question, well, let's actually, before we do this, let's cover why these things are so important. Because I remember when I was building my marketing agency, when I first got started, I was struggling to get clients. And there was 2 reasons. The first was I was brand new, but the second reason was, more specifically, I was spending time pitching and spending time trying to get people who weren't in my ideal market and weren't in my target market to try and buy, right? I was spending my time, sometimes hour and a half, with these people who weren't even in the right mindset to be able to want my services. And the biggest thing that I would share with you is, you don't want to sell people who don't want to be sold. You don't want to pitch people who don't want to be pitched. That's like one of the worst things that you can do, is to spend your valuable time pitching people who aren't actually, close to the end zone, for lack of for a sports term, right? You want to find people who are really, really close to the end zone, and all they need you to do is your expertise to go in and actually make it happen, right? So here are the 4 questions, okay? The first one that you want to figure out is actually, are they doing marketing? Are they spending on marketing? Or are they actually like okay investing in marketing? And what I mean by that is that a lot of businesses have staked their claim and kind of staked their confidence on we don't advertise, we don't market. We've built our business without marketing for 30 years. And I hear this a lot in the real estate space, especially. And the challenge is that if you built that without spending any money on marketing, imagine what you would have been able to build if you had what Garrett Gunderson calls a robotic, marketing system, right? What we call a software sales system, right? Which is really, you are leveraging these softwares, you are leveraging these tools to actually create inbound leads that not only are just leads and cold leads, but are actually warmed up and qualified and are actually at the point of sale, so that you just get to hop on and figure out whether or not you're actually a good fit. And so what we're talking about is actually asking people in advance and figuring out what are they doing on marketing, right? And one of the best ways that you can find marketing clients is by finding people who are actually out there already marketing, people who are already spending on PPC, people who are already spending money on Yelp, people who are already spending on money on Facebook ads, people who are already spending money on bench ads or newspapers or commercials or radio ads. If you can find a way to get a hold of those people, you're not going to have to convince them that, hey, marketing is a good idea. They already realize that. That's why they're doing it. They're just not doing it in the most efficient or the most effective way, because they're doing it through all of those methods that I talked about. Now, PPC can be very, very great and effective. SEO can be great and effective. But obviously, we're talking about helping them to come over to our side, which, if you're here, generally means Facebook ads, chatbots, things like that. Okay. So let's see here. Karen says good stuff can be heard many times. Yes, absolutely. Jocelyn, what's going on? Guys, I'm going to beg for some engagement right now. Like I said, we are doing this on the Millennial Skills page because the Facebook personal profile slap has happened. So if you are looking to build a page organically through your personal profile by getting lots of engagement there, it's not going to be as easy as it was in 2016 and 2017, right? Facebook is really running out of, they're kind of cracking down on some of this stuff. And so for you, what you've got to be able to do is diversify those, your methods of marketing and diversify your methods of reaching people. And what I realized is that my personal profile had kind of hit its peak of, I've got pushing up against the 5,000 friends list, or 5,000 friends total. And so now, in order for us to really scale our impact, we're going to be doing this here on the Millennial Skills page. And guys, our mission is right now to help 1,000 digital marketers build a business and the life that they love. And the reason that we're doing this is because you can build it the hard way. And what I mean by that is, when we started our agency, we would literally go out, find numbers, manually find cell phone numbers, text them in our phone, right? Call them, and we would do this one by one by one. We would literally, my partner and I, Dan, when we were first starting, in order to get our first client, would spend hours every single day individually texting people from our cell phone. If I go into my cell phone, if I go to the bottom of my messages, it's really, really interesting because it's really at the bottom, you'll still see all of my all of my just cold text, right? And like there was just hundreds of them, because every day we would sit down and we would text, our prospects. Now what we do is we literally click a button and we can send out 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 text messages at a time, right? So that way, instead of manually what would take an hour just to get those out, can literally be done in 15 seconds. So that's the type of stuff that we're talking about when we're talking about building, what we call software sales systems, where you can leverage the software to do the work, and then you can leverage a sales system that actually does the marketing, does the screening, does the qualifying for you. So guys, we're talking about right now what you need to do before you ever actually even start pitching people. We're actually talking about specifically 4 questions that you need to ask them before you actually get them on a sales call, before you actually get them on a strategy call. So Gary, Matt, Emily, Bruno, Jocelyn, I appreciate all of you guys hopping on. And all the likes, the loves, those things always help, because Once again, we're starting over, and we need to let Zucks know that this is a page worth following, all the shares. And if there's someone who's building a business, if there's a digital marketer who wants and needs more clients and doesn't want to be spending all day cold calling, door knocking, messaging, friend requesting by themselves, then get them on, tag them in this so that they can see some of this stuff. So the first question we talked about was, are they actually marketing, or are they open to marketing? Do they see the value of it? Are they ready now where they're like, you know what, Facebook, I've been thinking about it, I'm on the edge, I'm ready to go, right? There are a lot of people who haven't been spending on marketing, but they've been waking up, they've been going to conferences, they've been going to events, and these business owners are finally seeing that they can't ignore Facebook, they can't ignore social media, they can't ignore any of this stuff any longer. And so it's really, really valuable for you to be able to know just who is actually interested, right? Who's even predisposed to this kind of stuff. All right, let's see if we got any questions. Hug says, do you take a % of their ad spend? Let's talk about that, right? So when we talk about at the end, the very last question is pricing. So Hug, hold that to the end and we'll talk about pricing at the end. But let's talk about the second question, right? Which is, who is the decision maker, right? And the decision maker is actually the most important person in this whole kind of thing. And what you've got to really realize is that you could spend all day pitching the wrong person and it's not going to matter, right? It's not going to matter a damn thing. I remember my very, very early on in my sales, I was selling home products, right? And so oftentimes, most of the time it was the wife who I was dealing with, because let's be honest, when you guys get married, you realize that the woman is in control, and that's the way that it works most of the time around the house, and that's her domain, and I would gladly give, I like to let people play in their strengths. And with me, it's a trade-off, right? But the point is that a lot of my customers, I was dealing, the decision maker was the wife. However, one of my very first, I remember the very first time where they said, "Oh, I've got to talk to my husband," and I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Right? Like, what do you mean? You're like, where did he come from? Well, he's not even in the house. He's not even doing any of these chores or any of these tasks. Why does he need to talk to him? Well, he's the decision maker, right? They make decisions together. And so he is a partner in it. And so oftentimes what I found is that if I found out that they made those decisions together, well, then what I wanted to do is I wanted to be able to see them both at the same time. And I would say, okay, cool. Can we find out when your husband, when if you guys are both decision makers, let's make sure you're both there. And in business to business sales, right? Similarly, there are times where you have partners. There are times where you have, multiple people who are going to be vested in the decision-making process. So you, at the very beginning, you want to know who those people are and figure out who's going to be the one that pulls the trigger. And so what I'm doing is, if they're like, "Oh yeah, okay, let's talk about it. Let's see what you guys got." And I'm like, "All right, well, first, is there anybody else who makes decisions on this stuff?" Right? I just ask them, is there anybody else? Or are you the one that's going to pull the trigger? Are you the one that pulls the trigger? And the reason I do this is twofold. The first thing is that I first want to get out if they have any partners, any people who are also involved in the decision-making process. And then the second thing that I want to be able to figure out, though, is that if I need to if I need to go to that person, right? That's really, you don't want to be pitching the wrong person. So getting that out in advance is so important. So if they are the decision maker, and if they might say, "Well, actually I have a partner and we like to make these decisions together." Okay, well, the sales pitch, right? The real pitch, where you go over prices and everything and you really nail them down, that one should be done with the decision maker. So it's really, really valuable to figure out who are the partners, who are the people making the decisions, and based on the type of business and the type of industry that you're going after, and the larger the business, the more decision makers that you're going to have to sell on, right? And so what you may find that there are multiple decision makers, right? In large corporations, there's multiple gatekeepers, so you've got to be able to get past the first one. You've got to be able to figure out who that first one is, sell them on it, and then get to the next gatekeeper, right? It's like you got to pass through the gates, but the biggest thing is you don't want to think that this first person is the boss, right? You don't want to be, putting all of your eggs in pitching that person and getting them really, really set on it, because once you like do the full pitch, right? Once you like go through that, like you've, excuse me for this reference, but you've kind of blown your load, right? Because once you've done the full pitch, well, then that person's just gonna go like, well, I'm not gonna waste my boss's time. You just told me it. I'm just gonna tell them what it is. And the problem is that if you let them try and sell you for them, most of the time, you're gonna do a terrible job. If they're a previous client, if they're a previous customer, if they're like a really, really good friend, or like maybe there are some exceptions where they'll be able to have like the inside track and kind of sell you on it, but that's a little bit different of a circumstance. If you're just asking this lower level person to go out and sell the executive, sell the CEO, sell the higher level person on that stuff, it's gonna make it very, very, very difficult for them to be able to convey all of the value that you can. So by knowing it, you can kind of frame that first pitch, right, as like, okay, well, hey, the point of this pitch is not to get you to buy. The point of this pitch is to get you to let me talk to that next person, right? So like everything is geared towards talking to that next person, not, hey, let's sign on the prices. So if they talk about prices, I'm like, let's just figure out what it would be. Like we're very flexible, our starting and our ending. I'd kind of give them some ranges, but I'm not going to go full hardcore pitch if they're not ultimately the one that's the decision maker, right? So that's huge as well. So Vito, Stephanie, Derek, Guy, thank you guys for hopping on. Guys, we're doing, like I said, lots more videos here on the Millennial Skills page. So what I'm going to ask is that if you guys are enjoying any of this stuff, the likes and the loves, they always help. Of course, if you want to share it out, that would mean the world to me as well. Our mission, I had this clarity last night, and our mission is to help 1,000 digital marketers build the business and the life that they dream of through utilizing software sales systems, which is kind of what I'm talking about. But when you do this the right way, now all of a sudden your time is spent talking and your time is spent engaging with people who are actually interested in your services. Your time is spent pitching and actually selling people who want to be sold. And that is so powerful for your confidence. That is so powerful for your business, for your momentum. If you could only be working with people who are right for you and who fit this ideal criteria, you're going to see a lot more success. So that's the second question, okay, that you need to have. And of course, if you guys have questions about this kind of sales process, make sure you throw those down there as well. The more I love what Josh Forty says. He's like, the more likes, the more loves, the more comments, the more people that we can help. And that's really what it comes down to, is if you ask a question, that actually is going to help other people as well. So don't be afraid to be shy and timid in that regard. Okay, let's talk about the third question. The third question is, when do they want to get started? And this is a rather simple one. And what it is it serves two purposes though. The number one thing that it serves is that we want to figure out when they're thinking about it, right? And we want to see where their head's at. And so if they say, oh, well, I always frame it as like, I take the pressure off. Here's exactly how I'd ask it, right? I take the pressure off and I say, well, hey, if you ended up liking everything, right, you could, and I always tell them, I make a little joke out to make them feel really comfortable. I'm like, hey, you could get to the end of it and you could hate it and tell us to go to hell and tell us to never talk to you again. But if you liked it and if it fit and it worked for your business, how soon would you want to get started? How soon would you want? And I say it exactly like that, so they feel comfortable telling me exactly what's in their head. And the reason that I do that is because if they say 3 months, oh, well, we want to get started at the end of the year. Well, I'm like, Jesus. If May starts tomorrow, at the end of the year, we're not even into the 5th month of the year. Why are we talking about anything that's going to happen at the end of the year? You know what I mean? Like, we're not talking about, signing your child away or mortgaging your house. We're talking about, a couple of grand a month for a few grand a month for your business. Like let's be realistic about these conversations. But if they go, well, yeah, we'd want to get started, pretty soon. I'd go, okay, awesome. To me, that's like they want to get going, right? Like, to me, I can turn and I can sell them. I'm like, okay, cool. Well, hey, on our next call, we're gonna walk through the strategy and exactly through it. And I could take two routes here. I can either offer them a discount to get started right away, and I could say, hey, and we usually offer a discount, or we usually offer this amount a month off our setup fee, or we usually offer whatever if you get started right away. So like that's what I would say. So it would actually be in your best interest to get started and get going. So that's awesome that you want to get started soon, is what I would say. Or I could just say, hey, we're going to take the time. All right, awesome. Well, since you're really interested in getting started pretty soon, we're going to take the time on next week or in a few days, whenever our call is, to walk through exactly what our strategy is. And so we're going to have a ton of ideas, and our team is going to be ready to go. So we'd love to get started, right away. If you liked it and if you enjoyed it, would you be ready to get going and let our team get started, so that we can get you some results even quicker? Right, that's something I would say, something like that. Depending, I'm trying to just spitball here, but something like that, right? Where I'm trying to lock them down. And the reason that is at the end of the sales call, I don't want to have them say, oh, well, we're going to think about it, right? Because if they say that, I'm like, hey, I totally understand that you may want to think about it. It's kind of a lot. And you know what? A few $1,000s may seem like a hard expense right now. However, when we were speaking on the phone last week, you told me that we were good, you were ready to get started right away. And here's the thing. It's that much of an expense right now. It's $500, $1,000, a few $1,000s right now. But if you think about it, in a few months, when you have all of these customers coming in from it, that minor expense is actually going to turn into an investment. So the longer you wait, then actually the less money that you're actually going to have when that time comes around. So, I totally understand, but we're ready to get going, and we can actually save you some money and actually make you more money if we get started today. Do you think that you'd be able to put down this deposit? Or do you think that you'd be able to put this much down? Or do you think that you'd be able to make the first payment by whenever? I'm going to give a little, right? I'm going to give something, right? But I want to kind of force the commitment. I want to force the decision and say, okay, you know what? We could put down $500, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000. We could put down a percentage so that and let's get started. Like that's what my goals would be to be able to do. But now if I ask that third question, which is when are you looking to get started? Now I have the power on the sales call to actually hold them to that as well. However, if I never asked that before them, and I don't ever ask them when they're looking to get started, and I don't ever nail that down, it makes it kind of a douchebag move to be like, well, we want to get started now. And it's like you need to pay me now. Like it doesn't work like that. You know what I mean? So what up, Scott, Dan, Matt? What's going on, guys? I'm just gonna ask, guys, if you guys are hopping on, that you help us impact more business owners. Our goal at Millennial Skills and HD Marketing is to help 1,000 business owners and 1,000 digital marketers to build the business and the life of their dreams. And we're going to need your help to do it. So sharing it, liking it, commenting, all that stuff helps in just impacting more people. What's great about this whole social media game is that you can pay with your thumbs. You can pay with your thumbs, and some of my favorite people, I've given free stuff, so much free stuff to people who have just been willing to help and engage and support in that way, and they don't have the financial means to support, back the company, but they can support it with their engagement, and oftentimes that can go even further. So the likes, the loves, the hearts, guys, that always helps a ton. So let's wrap up, because we've been here for a little while, and let's talk about our last question that we want to ask, right? The last question is something that is probably the most important, right? But I saved it for last because it's kind of the scariest for a lot of people. That is, all right, Mr. Business Owner, our starting package starts at this much. Are you going to be able to afford that, or is that going to be something that's going to put you out of business? That's what I would say, right? I'd be able to say, all right, and our starting packages is $1,000. Is that something that you guys can swing, or is that going to put you guys out of business? And I like to say it like that because then it hits their pride, right? And they're not gonna be like, that's gonna put us out of business, because it won't, right? Like what our services are, we're not asking them for 50% of their equity and all of their profits for the next 6 years. Like that's not what we're asking in return for what they are getting in terms of results, and also the time that it's going to save them in terms of creating all of this stuff, right? So it's really, really important for them to be able to understand that as well. So you got to get your price out there, right? You got to get your price. You don't want them thinking and shocked by the price on the sales call. That's one of the hardest things that you can, that's one of the most difficult things to do is to get them to sign on the line right when they find out the price. And so they shouldn't be shocked. They shouldn't be scared. They shouldn't be worried about what you're going to charge them, right? At least the basics of it. Now, on your sales call, you might offer upsales and have larger packages to be able to get them, into increase your average order. However, they shouldn't be concerned by the bottom, like by the minimum that they're going to pay. And if they are, move on, right? Send them some free resources and move on, because you don't want to be spending your time there in a B2B space. You don't want to be spending your time with people who are worried that your minimum package is going to crush their business, because those are the people who have insane expectations. Those are the people who expect that your $1,000, your $1,500 a month retainer to transform their business. And sometimes, if you're good enough, it can. And a lot of times, over time, it can. But most of the time, unless someone is going to be bringing in a $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 consulting team to rehaul and save their company, their expectations need to be met with, what, this is a system, it's social media, we're gonna build, right? Like this is something that lasts forever. I was just sharing with a client of mine that over the 2 months that they have been working with us, their face has been shown to 30,000 people within about like 3 or 4 zip codes. Think about that. Think about in 2 months, they've reached 34,000 people in just a few zip codes. They are becoming a mini celebrity, and that's happened in 2 months. Imagine if you multiply that over 2 years. Imagine if you multiply that over 2 decades, what that's going to do to that person's brand, to that person's business. So do not underestimate what you can provide in terms of exposure, in terms of branding, and then most importantly, in terms of results, right? Don't sell chatbots, don't sell Facebook ads, don't even sell funnels. Sell the results that they get back for them, right? Talk about the leads, talk about the appointments, talk about the sales, talk about the conversions. That's what people actually want. All right, guys. So if you guys have any questions, now's your chance, okay? You guys got like a few seconds to throw down any questions. If you guys got a question, just like drop an emoji really quickly and I'll just hang out and let you type your question. But I want to give a quick plug, okay? If you guys are not in Chatbot 101, all right, make sure that you guys go and get in the group, okay? We are going to be really helping people not only how to build chatbots, but specifically how to go out there and sell and how to build their agency and how to utilize chatbots and messenger marketing as a way to not only offer fulfillment, right, but then as a way to actually get clients through it as well. It's going to be huge. So go to Chatbots 101. I'm going to see if I can tag that in the or drop that in the comments here. And if you guys have any questions, throw them down there. Make sure you guys turn on subscriptions for this so that you guys get live notifications. And then make sure that you guys like, obviously, the Millennial Skills page, because this is where we're going to be doing all of this stuff as well. All right, guys. Vito, Hug. Oh, so hopefully that helped you, Hug. Like for our packages, I've talked a lot about pricing. But we actually make our clients pay for ad spend. That's really just what we do now, is they pay for their ad spend. We build the campaign, we set it up for them, and then they run the ads themselves, or we help them. We set it up, but it's on their credit card. So, guys, thank you guys so much for hanging out. Likes, loves, shares. Let's impact. Will help us impact more people. And once again, I'm gonna keep preaching it because I want you guys to be a part of this. I want you guys to be part of this 1,000, right? And I was thinking about how grateful I was for Facebook Live and for this community, because in 2016, I was building a business that did 7 figures in revenue for our 3rd year in a row, and I was absolutely miserable. And I was making all this money and had all this cash flow and was absolutely just burning it in all the places that I shouldn't, because I was looking for happiness. And so the fact that over the last 1.5 years or so, I've been able to build really the business of my dreams, where I get to do the things that I love. I get to help the people that I want to help. And it actually brings value to the world in a way that creates money. I mean, I'm so grateful. So now I want to give this to you and show you that you don't have to cold call. Jesus, I did that. You don't have to cold message. You don't have to send, go individually and knock on doors in order to be able to generate clients and grow your business. And I want to be able to show you how you can leverage both softwares and system, right? Software and sales systems to be able to do that. So that's really what our mission is about. Vito, thank you so much. Scott, Dan, Al, the rest of y'all, have an amazing day and see you later.